Hey everyone, this is Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing from 10 million to 200 million, how to build systems so your business runs without you. We're going to also be discussing what's the importance of building a scalable business, how do you transition to a scalable operating system, and how do you prevent burnout? All right, guys, welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast.
Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm.
Building a business from 10 million to 200 million. How do you do that without going crazy? Well, the answer is systems. So how can you build a business that runs without you? I love this topic. I talk about it a lot. Our guest is a best-selling author and founder of multiple companies, collectively enjoying hundreds around the world, collectively employing hundreds around the world. He's the founder and CEO of digitalmarketer.com and founder and managing partner of rivalbrands.com and platter.com. And I hope I said that right. He also is the founder and host of Traffic and Conversion, the Traffic and Conversion Summit, the largest digital marketing conversion conference in North America. And I'm talking about Ryan Deiss. We've been trying to get Ryan on for a long time, so I'm pretty excited to have him on today. But first, let me see. I have a shout out. I got to get one of these things recorded. Here we go. Thanks, Kelsey, even added it to the script. All right. This is from Seller Basics. Hey, Amazon sellers, ever faced with account suspensions, ASIN hiccups, or IP headaches? Introducing Seller Basics, your Amazon accounts guardian. With just $99 per month or $89 per month if you use code NORM, Seller Basics offers a dedicated team to shield your business from these challenges. Plus, this membership offers free legal consultations from seasoned e-commerce attorneys. There's no long-term contracts, and you can cancel with just a month's notice. You can view Seller Basics as your Amazon account's health plan, and to check them out, go to sellerbasics.com. And now, the disclaimers. Seller Basics is not an insurer or law firm. Consultations come from independent firms. Results may vary. Membership is needed before events leading to claims, and terms apply. All right, where is the boy Blunder?
Hello.
Hey, how are you? I haven't seen you. Where did you go?
Oh, I don't know what that was.
Gee, you're a professional producer, and you keep.
I know. We're 615 episodes in, and we gotta stay on screen here. All right. Well, happy Wednesday, everyone. We got Rad joining us in the comment sections, and Simon. Good to see you guys. Thanks everyone for watching. If there's questions or comments, please get them into the comment section. And we have a really great giveaway today, which we're going to be sharing the details in just a little bit. But yeah, any updates on your end?
Yeah. This is pretty exciting. So first of all, Kevin King and we went to the podcast movement last week, and it was awesome. We learned so much. We're going to be implementing a bunch of these marketing techniques that we've learned there. It was awesome. Also, one of my favorite podcasters is Mr. Ballin. It's actually John. His name's John Allen. But I got to sit down and talk to him for a bit, so that was cool. Then after that, we went up to Siafalabi. So we rented a car, drove up to Pennsylvania. We were in Washington. And then I got to see my warehouse for the first time. So we got some pictures. I actually have a warehouse I've never seen. But that's kind of what we're talking about today, by the way. So I run a business. The systems are in place, just like this business, just like my managed services business and the content marketing business. Systems are in place that I can go travel, do my thing, and other people are responsible for it. And so that's why I'm so excited about, talking to Ryan today. But that's it. Then next step, I guess this is sold out, but Kevin King's having his think tank I forget what he's calling it, marketing mastery or something like that.
Marketing masters. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what is it? It's the 12th to the 16th. So I'll be
Yes.
down in Austin for that. But yeah, let's get right into this. I'm excited about it, and let's just do it. If you have any
Okay.
questions, comments, throw them in the comment section. Now you can sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and let's bring on Mr. Deiss. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
A nice way of saying, well, I'm old, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're old.
In internet years, I'm a dinosaur, man.
Well, they actually call me the fossil. So
There you go.
You have been in business for a long time. You've been helping marketers, digital marketers, for I don't know how many years now.
I mean, I made my first sale online in 1999. That was when I built my first website, made my first sale, and almost immediately I started talking about it. So whether it was to my, college roommate, or on online forums and things, I always found that if I was sharing what I was doing, not only was it a way to give back, but it was a way for me to learn. The more I shared, the more people would give ideas back to me. So informally, since probably 1999, 2000, more formally, Digital Marketer as a brand was launched in 2014. So just Digital Marketer is over a decade old. But gosh, wow. I was doing it a decade before then. So I'd have to say at least 20 years.
Now, by the way, Ryan, I do drink a lot of coffee. Sorry.
We'll keep calling it coffee.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's what the people need to hear.
That's right. So one of the things about Digital Marketer is I don't know how long I was a member, have been a member, but it's so useful. People don't understand that you can just go in there and get your playbooks, which are your SOPs. You can take a course, you can get a certificate, but it's so helpful, and you cover every topic. And these topics are with really great experts, like Lauren Petrullo. She was actually with us on our Collective Mind Society trip 2 weeks ago, but we met Dave Albano. He came out to meet us in Calgary, which was great. But some top experts in the field, and it is very inexpensive. You pay a flat rate to get into your labs, and that you can do one-offs. But I've mentioned this on this podcast tons, that you gotta, if you're gonna do digital marketing and you want to understand it, you don't have to be the expert. You can go out and hire somebody, but if you want to learn about it, get into digitalmarketer.com. It's awesome. And then there's all these other things that you can get into from that. Now, I've talked about M3 on the podcast. Do you want to just touch on what's happening with M3 right now?
Yeah, M3. So M3 was our kind of highest level marketing mastermind. We discovered a couple of things after doing this for 2 years, and I think it's what a lot of your folks have discovered as well. It's really difficult to get marketers who are spread literally all over the world to gather 4 times a year in one place, and so we've actually pivoted that program, and we're relaunching a virtual mastermind, a virtual implementation group that we had back pre-COVID, that we'd actually got a sunset that was called Elite, and so we actually opened the doors to that yesterday, and I'm really, really excited. We've got all the M3 members that are in there as well, but we wanted to have an offering that didn't require people to get on an airplane, fly from wherever to Austin, Texas, 4 times a year to get the value from it, and so very, very excited about that. And really, the core of Elite is this realization that tactics are important, tactics are great, but if you don't have a system to plug the tactics into, they just become distractions. They just become random acts of marketing. And I know I've been there, and that's when businesses get caught in the chop, where you're really only as good as your last good idea, and you're always chasing that next good idea, and nothing compounds. And it's super frustrating because you're working so hard, basically just to stay flat. And that's exhausting. And that's when burnout happens. And that's when people start to, frankly, resent their businesses. It's when they start having the quitting fantasy of like, maybe I should just sell this thing and go, if I can, and go try to find a job, realizing that that's got its own, bit of awfulness to it as well. And so what I've found from decades of doing this is that while tactics and very specific things are going to get you from 0 to 1, and I mean that both, figuratively from a 0 to 1, the book standpoint that Peter Thiel wrote, but also literally from like 0 to maybe $100,000, maybe even $1 million. If you want to scale beyond that, it really is going to come down to systems. It's the stuff that nobody wants to talk about, but it's kind of the things that actually move the needle, that make the difference over time, and then allow your sales to compound. And that's what we're making the focus of this elite program.
And I've been involved with hypergrowth companies before, and prior to understanding systems, I went through the eMyth Academy, Peter Gerber's eMyth Academy, and that helped me get my mind back, because if you've ever experienced it, it's horrible. You can go to bed. Well, put it this way: you can work around the clock, and you get further behind every day. Drive you nuts. But being able to do this, it takes time. You just don't go, I'm going to make 10,000 policies and procedures, and it's going to be overnight. Sometimes you just got to lay it out, and you take I find the most repetitive tasks I always work on first, but it's a bit of a chore. But at the end of it, I know that like I was involved with a public company before. It was the first publicly traded company in Canada, and I could go away for a month.
Yeah.
The only time I get an email is it's my urgent email, and it better be urgent. That was it. But let's get into this. So scaling. You do have a unique system. I've heard you talk. I've gone out to a couple of the M3 events, and you got me excited because you talk my lingo, but you do it in a different way than I normally would do it. Plus, I read your book, by the way, which we'll talk about in a bit. Scalable. It's great. So where do we even start?
Well, so I want to address something you said about Michael Gerber and the eMyth and the creation of SOPs and checklists and all those things, because most people would say that that's where you start. Where you start is you just kind of make a list of all the things that you do, and you proceed to document each and every one of those. And I don't mean this to disrespect Michael Gerber and the eMyth, because I know Michael, great guy, and I think the eMyth is a phenomenal book. But if you think that what systems looks like is having just an endless array of checklists and standard operating procedures, that's not it. And I know this because I've tried it. I remember reading the eMyth while I was on vacation, coming back from vacation, holding a company all hands meeting and saying, okay, everybody, effective immediately. I'm not going to greenlight any new projects. We're not going to make any new hires. We're not going to do anything new until absolutely everybody in this business has documented absolutely everything that they've done, that they do. And a couple things happened. Number one, people super freaked out because they thought they were all getting fired. Like, I was having them document everything before a mass layoff, which wasn't the case. Some people got a little bit pissed off because they're like, I already know how to do my job. Why are you going to make me document it? But I didn't connect why we were doing this to the greater purpose and how it would help them. I didn't basically say my job here is to make your job easier, to make you more efficient. But we still powered through and we did it. Like, I was able to reframe, we did it. And we spent about a month shutting down the company. And when we were done, we had it. I had my binders full of checklists and standard operating procedures. And I remember it. There were half a dozen different binders for different teams. They were all color coded and tabbed and all this stuff. And I remember being like, oh, we did it. And I put those binders on a bookshelf, and literally nobody ever looked at them ever. And we had no benefit or gains whatsoever. Because the specific SOPs, there were two big problems with them. Number one, we documented a lot of things that didn't actually matter. And don't forget, the very first bit of documentation that we did that came through was the process for requesting paid time off. That was the first one that got done. Surprise, surprise. Requesting vacation time. Now, I'm not opposed to my people taking vacation. I want them to take vacation. I do. But is that the most valuable thing that we need to document? And specifically, is that what creates the most value in the marketplace? I would suggest no, it doesn't. I think if you document everything, discovery becomes a problem. That's why people don't use it. I can't find that bit of documentation. So when we're building systems, we do not start with, okay, what does everybody do? Let's document all of those. We start with a process called value engine mapping. And value engine mapping is basic business process mapping. And what we do is we want to get crystal clear on, number one, documenting, okay, how do new customers happen? What is the process? How can we visualize that? And then number two, how do we visualize it once we have them? I don't know if I can share my screen. I can show you an example.
Yeah, sure, you can.
Helpful.
Yep.
Cool.
Just hit present.
Yeah, we'll see if maybe this works and we get lucky. Okay, cool.
No,
Can you see my
fingers
screen?
Yes, can.
Great. So let's talk about this specifically for how do we systemize what we would call a growth flywheel, right? Like systemize the process of growth. I think first things first, you've got to be clear on what is our value ladder? Like, what do we sell? Where does it start? Like, what are things are given away for free? The entry point offers, the core offers, the profit maximizers. And from an e-commerce perspective, most businesses are going to have lower ticket items that bring people in, and then higher ticket items that may be offered like in cart or upsells as profit maximizers and those kind of things. Just about every business is going to have a customer journey. The visibility on this is going to be somewhat limited if you're exclusively an Amazon seller, but you still have it, right? You should still be following up with your buyers. But ultimately what we want to create is this, right? What this is this is a flow chart of how customers happen for this particular business. So these things start off, we've got these different squares that's like, this is how, visualizing how do people become aware that we exist. So maybe we're going to buy ads. Okay, great. Once somebody sees an ad, where are they going to go? Well, they're going to go to this landing page. Okay, cool. And all we're simply doing is saying, then what? If there's a fork in the road, then it becomes a diamond. This is just basic business process mapping. Okay, there really is nothing fancy. I'm not going to pretend like we invented the process of business process mapping. And in truth, when you're doing this for the first time, what we use is, let's see if I can find an example of this real quick. I've got a picture of it in this case study report that I did. We'll just use like a whiteboard. So we'll map these things out on a whiteboard. And I like whiteboards because, and using sticky notes, because sticky notes already come in squares and diamond shape. You just have to turn it on a diagonal. So this is where it all begins with us. The process of systemization begins with the process of visualization. And I truly believe that you cannot optimize until you first visualize. So this is step one of building a system. Now, once we have that, then we can ask a really important question, which is, how do we know that these different things are working? Right? How do we know that these different things are working? In other words, this particular step here, this stage here, what are the metrics that we should track to know that this is working? And it's pretty obvious. Like if you're thinking about, if you run, Meta or Google ad campaigns, you're going to track things like cost per click. You're going to track things like, what is our total spend? What's our return on ad spend? If we do this, then what we can build is this thing here called a growth scorecard.
So going back to that last one, the colors that you're using, what do they represent?
So for us specifically, the colors, if it's purple, that's what we refer to as a power stage. This is something that is a really important thing that we do not want to screw up, right? So if I go back here, sorry if I'm giving anybody, vertigo, but so this process of running Facebook ads, this is not technically a power stage because while we have some documentation in and around how we do it, we've got a team that handles this. So there is some documentation, but that's not really there. Same with like this lead magnet landing page. This just exists, right? This just kind of is a page. But if we get into, okay, how do we deliver this particular sales session? Okay, well, we've got scripting for that. We don't want to screw that up. How do we deliver this discovery call session? We don't want to screw that up. So once we've identified, what are those sessions? What are the steps within our process that are absolutely critical? Those are the ones that we build checklists and SOPs for, and only those to start off with. And I think that's really, really important. I don't believe you have to document everything. You only need to document the critical. We're going to document the most critical.
All right.
Once we've begun doing that, and you also want to be clear on who is uniquely accountable for these. I mean, that's a really, really big important aspect of this here. I can show you another. This one's a little bit more direct. So we've mapped these different, our growth engine and our fulfillment engine. This visualizes how customers happen. This visualizes what we do after the sale is made. How do we serve the people? How do we fulfill on the order? Then we ask, which of these steps can we not afford to screw up? What are high stakes and high chance for human error? Those are the ones that we build the playbooks, the checklists, the SOPs for. All right, we do not want to mess those up. But for most of our businesses, man, it's like a dozen, it's dozens, it's not hundreds. And I've seen a lot of companies where they think they need to document absolutely everything and they've got hundreds and nobody uses them because they can't find the ones they need. Then we also want to ask, who does these different things? Who's uniquely accountable for making sure that these things get done right? That, you know, if it is one of these purple power stages, that it gets done to the standards that were set back here in the playbooks. Then going back to, now we're going to ask the question, how do we know these are working? How do we make sure that we do not like that, you know, if something is broken, that we can tell it's broken? In other words, what are the metrics that we need to track to know that these different steps and stages, this is where your scorecards come in. And these scorecards, this is the big missing piece of operating systems, of company systems that most people miss. Because we don't have scorecards, we don't know what actually works. Like, we don't know what's working. We don't know what, you know, the things that could and should be optimized. But if I go and I look at this, pretty much anybody could tell me the metrics that we should be focusing on as a team, if this is the scorecard we're looking at. I don't even need to tell you what they are. Just look for red.
This is one of the things that I saw at the M3 event. I don't know if it was the last one or the one prior to that, that you're showing this, and my mouth just dropped because it's such a visual. I don't do this. This is something that we wanted to implement, and we got implemented. So yeah, thank you for that one.
And just to kind of wrap it up, like once you have visualized how customers happen and what you do with them once you get them, once you turn that into scorecards, so now we have the ability to make data-driven decisions, not random acts of marketing, right? Now, like somebody could come to me and say, "Ooh, I've got this really, really phenomenal, you know, strategy for increasing your opt-ins." Okay, we might test that, but as it stands right now, you know, we're green in that area. Where I really need help is I need help improving the opt-in rates to the weekly email challenge that we're doing. Like, not enough people are signing up for that. So I need help improving these other areas. You got any ideas for that? And if you know the right questions to ask and you hang out with the right people, you come to things like this, you're going to find the answers. The problem is most people they're not asking good questions, so they're not getting good answers. If you do that, then now we can build what we call the big three plan. And so every 90 days, we're going to say, what are the big three projects that, if completed, are going to turn red to yellow and yellow to green? And in doing that, we believe it's going to hit our overarching goals. This is how we go about selecting it. And if I go back over here, that's the growth flywheel. We map, we build scorecards based on that mirror our growth engines. We then execute based on what needs to be true to turn red to yellow, yellow to green. And we simply repeat this process every 90 days. And that is what allows us to systemize the growth process. And from my perspective, it's what means that I don't have to be the one that always has the answers. Like, now my team can just go and do that. And I just need to make sure I've got the right people on the team who know how to turn red to yellow and yellow to green. If they know how to do that, great. If they don't, then I need to find the people who do.
All right. But to find these, are you using a project management tool? How do people even find, let's say you have 30 or 40 different processes. How do your employees go and find these if you're not involved?
So for us, we use Notion to kind of house our operating system. Here, you want me to show you that too?
Yeah, Notion's great.
Here, let me go. So this is ours. I mean, and this is the one that we have for the scalable company. So all of our playbooks. So first of all, our value engines, kind of everything that we need, including the key initiatives. I mean, this kind of functions as that project management tool for us. But the value engines that I just showed you, they're linked to over here. And you can see there's some that we haven't quite mapped yet. That's fine. I'm not going to pretend like we're absolutely perfect in all these. And then here's our playbooks, right? These are all the different playbooks. Who owns the playbook? What team? Which of the value engines is it related to? And then, in terms of the team, I don't want to click on the team directory because I'll pull up a bunch of our team members' faces, and they didn't necessarily ask to be out, exposed necessarily. There's some privacy related things. But if I were to click on the team directory, it would show you who on our team is uniquely accountable to which things. So going back to this process here, all of these are linked to from there. All of our playbooks are linked to from there. And our, what we call the high output team canvas, who is uniquely accountable to what, their critical accountability bullets, that's linked to, in Notion as well. But I want to be clear, the tool doesn't really matter. A lot of what we do is just done in Google Sheets. I mean, I can show you where it all begins. So this is an example operating system that we built for, this is real company, but like fake name. Mm-hmm. This is an e-commerce company, just for what it's worth, called Mommy Fit. Sells fitness training gear and equipment to stay-at-home moms. And you can see here, this is just using Google Sheets. So here's their growth engine. Here's their fulfillment engine. These are their different playbooks. Normally what we would do is these would just link off to Google Docs. Again, this is for, we don't have the actual ones in there because this is for a client company. This is their high output team canvas. Here's their scorecard. When they have their meetings. Clarity Compass is basically vision, mission, core values, things like that. This is their kind of big three planning that you see here, their 3-year target planning. But all of this can just be done, you can see here in just Google Slides, or I'm sorry, Google Sheets. And I think that's important because a lot of people get drunk on the technology. I don't freaking care. The only place I don't want it to sit is, I don't want our documentation to exist as like, a sticky note affixed to the side of somebody's monitor, because that's not shareable. So our whole thing is it needs to be digital. It needs to be shareable. People need to be able to access it, whether we're using Google Sheets, Notion, ClickUp, SharePoint. I don't freaking care. And it doesn't matter. None of that matters at all.
Very good. Hey, look, it's the bottom of the hour, and it looks like we've got a bunch of people, and it looks like there's a bunch of possibly new people listening. So we have something very unique at the top of the hour. It's called the Wheel of Kelsey, and that's where we give away a prize every podcast. Today, we've asked Ryan to give us a prize. And what is that?
So we had talked ahead of time. You're like, will you give people 30 days access to Digital Marketer Lab? And I was like, yeah, sure, totally fine, happy to do that. Here's the deal. That is available somewhere on our website. So I don't know how like prize worthy that necessarily is. And it's about a $95 value. So I think it's good, but I think I can do one better. Like I said, literally today, we opened it up a little bit yesterday, but today we just launched our brand new elite level membership. This is a $5,000 per year, $500 per month program where you do get access to the training that does exactly what I described there, like how we go about building those growth flywheels, so mapping your growth engines, your scorecards, all of those templates, all the things. None of that is available inside of Lab. It is available inside of Elite. So what I'll do, and I don't know how we're going to do this, you're just going to have to tell me who won, but I will give whoever wins 30 days access, totally free access to Elite, which is a $500 value. And that 30 days is actually enough time, if you're diligent, to get in there and build out the system I just showed you. So
wow.
There you go.
That is awesome. So if you're interested, if this is the first time you're listening to the podcast, it's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and you get a second entry. We'll be doing that at the top of the hour. Also, if you have any questions, make sure you throw them into the comment section. We'll be doing that towards the top of the hour as well. We've already got 3 questions in there. So get them in there so we can get them all answered for you. All right, now I got to go over to another quick sponsor. This sponsors is by Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. It's a book by Colin C. Campbell. He's a friend of mine. And this, I believe, has won 30. It's won 12 awards. It's been number one in over 20 categories on Amazon. You can get it in the Kindle version, soft cover now. It just got back in stock, hardcover, and it's also Audible. Now, what is this book? It's about a journey, your entrepreneurial journey, whether you're at the beginning stage, middle, or at the end, if you're ready to exit, or even better, if you want to go and repeat the process. This just goes through everything. It breaks it down into 4 categories under each module and then subsections. I call it really a reference guide for entrepreneurs. So check it out on Amazon or head over to Audible and listen to it. I know a bunch of our listeners have, and they've also said how great it was. So anyways, check it out on Amazon. All right, now we're back. Everything looks great what you're doing, Ryan. Like I'm sitting there just going, oh man, this is, what a great system. But how do you even start to transition?
So if you are by yourself, if you're a solo entrepreneur, then one of the hardest things in the world to do is to build systems, because you think to yourself, I already know how to do it and I don't have to share it with anybody else. And so the first thing that you need to do to transition is to begin thinking about, and the book that you just referenced is a good example of that. Begin thinking about, if I were to sell this business, could somebody run it without me? Now, there's a couple of reasons that you want to adopt that mindset. The first reason is that you may at some point want to sell that business. I've sold a number of companies myself. I can tell you it is freaking awesome to watch tens of millions of dollars plop into your bank account. It's just a great feeling. I think everybody should have it. Highly recommended. So you might very well want to sell your business one day. And if you do, nobody wants to buy a business that's owner dependent. Not only if you can sell it, it's going to sell for a much lower valuation than it should. And if you're able to sell it, they're going to want you to stay on as an employee for a period of time. And that's just a way to slowly die inside. So you may want to sell it one day. If you do, then you need to have the systems in place. Even if you don't, you may want to build a team. And I firmly believe a lot of times what we do as entrepreneurs is we want to throw people at problems, because we've been told, every problem in business is a people problem. It's all about who, not how. Like if you get the right people on the bus, then everything's going to be okay. All of that stuff sounds really, really, really smart. It makes for really good fortune cookie wisdom. But here's the reality. Good people don't fix broken systems. Broken systems break good people. I've just seen it too many times. And if you throw good people at fundamentally broken systems and you try to build a team that way, what you're going to find is they come in, they try to do some stuff for a little bit. They don't quite do it your way, or it's not quite as good. You undermine them and jump back in and start doing it for themselves. They either get frustrated and quit, or you get frustrated with them because you're paying them to do work that you're doing again. You fire them, you declare that people suck and nobody else can ever do it as well as you, and you're trapped back in the business again. So I've got a rule and I've got a mantra. The more valuable you are to your business, the less valuable your business is. And step one is to hear that and believe that that is true. If you want to have a valuable business, then the business cannot be dependent upon you, because it will only ever be as valuable as you are. And unless you're willing to go work for somebody else permanently, or heck, even work for yourself permanently, it's not a particularly valuable business. So that really is the first shift that needs to take place. Everything else is tactical. Everything else is what I showed you. It's cool. Now we're going to map our value engines. Let's visualize, how do we get clients and customers? What do we do with them once we got them? All right, now what are the power stages, the ones we can't screw up? Let's create some documentation for that. Who is responsible for these things? What you're going to find also when you go through the who is responsible for these things, you're going to find it's like, you're going to go like, okay, well, this one, me, I got to do this one. I got to do this one. But when you begin to split out all the things that you have to do, now the process becomes, which of these little sticky notes do I want to give away first? So currently I'm doing this, but I don't want to do it anymore. Because another big mistake that people make is they go, I just need to hire an operator. I need to bring somebody in to run this entire company. Well, guess what? That person's called an entrepreneur, and that person ain't coming to work for you anytime soon. Okay. Maybe one day you can hire a true number two, but they ain't coming to work for you anytime soon. What we want to do is give them away one little sticky note at a time, but the sticky note should come with a playbook, that checklist SOP that we talked about, and it should come with the context of, hey, person I just hired, This is where the work that you do fits within the broader value creation process. Oh, and by the way, here are the metrics you're going to be accountable to on the scorecard that we're going to be talking about. If you put that, you surround a new person with that level of clarity into their role, that level of clarity into how to do the role, the context into how it fits into everything else, and the accountability into how they're going to be measured, they almost can't help but succeed. Systems first, mindset shift first, systems second, people third, track it, rinse, repeat, and before long, you got a business that can run without you.
All right. I know this question is going to be how long is a piece of string? But how much time can somebody get back when they're doing these SOPs? Are they going to save a quarter of the day? Are they going to save 8 hours in a day? What do you think? Is there an average?
In the beginning, it's going to get worse because the process of documentation, especially if you're the one doing it, is going to add to your workload. And that's why nobody wants to do it, right? But if in the beginning, if you will document while you do, so the next time you're completing one of those steps that's on the little sticky note, say, okay, the next time I do this, I'm just going to film myself doing it. I'm going to, pull up Loom. I'm going to get out my, iPhone if I need to. I'm just going to document this thing. You can then send that off to somebody, in Fiverr and say, turn this into a step-by-step checklist. You can also upload it to ChatGPT and it'll spit that out for you. So cool, we got that, right? Then as soon as you start handing it off to somebody, if you will start with the high impact stuff that you really hate doing that's important, but you're afraid to give it away, and so it's kind of got you held captive, if you will start by handing those things off first, you can see sometimes within the first week getting back hours, within the first couple of weeks that you do this. Eventually, I've got companies that I run and I spend 0 hours in that business. Now, what I do is then go and work on another business because I'm, have entrepreneurial ADHD and I can't do nothing. But the goal really should be you have no direct responsibility of any of those little steps within the process. You simply have oversight of your business. You've got governance responsibilities of your business. You own it, but it's truly a more passive endeavor because you've got the people and the systems who are running it for you.
All right. Very good. Now, the mistakes. What are the biggest mistakes sellers or entrepreneurs are making?
The biggest is thinking that they can grow themselves out of pain. So if we just hit that next level of revenue, then that's going to solve for all the things. In reality, growth eats profit, growth eats cash. Also, as you grow, if your systems aren't there, you kind of become that rocket ship that's held together with duct tape and bubble gum that sort of rattles itself apart before it leaves the atmosphere. And so the idea that I can just grow myself out of this, I throw out this stat a lot, but 67% of Inc. 5000 companies fail within 5 years. That's not my data. That's Inc.'s data. They fail at a faster rate than the average 5-year failure rate. The average 5-year failure rate of startups is actually just under 50%.
Really?
People think it's like 95% failure rate. That's if you go out to 10 years. At 5 years, it's about 50%. The failure rate of Inc. 5000 companies is actually higher. And I submit that it's because many of them rattle themselves apart. So the biggest mistake is thinking that growth and more growth is always the answer. That's true in the beginning when you're not making anything, not true eventually. So the second big mistake is thinking that you have to document everything. We talked about that. You don't. It's overwhelming. You should not stop everything that you're doing. You should document while you do, and you should only document the critical. A third big mistake is just trying to throw people at the problem. Talked about that. You cannot just throw people. If you throw people without systems, you're setting people up for failure, and it's costing you a lot of money to do it. You also can't try to make one magical unicorn hire who's going to do all the things that you don't want to do. There's a very good book that is grossly misinterpreted called Traction, an entrepreneurial operating system, where it's like, oh, look, you're a visionary and you're this adorable, precious little snowflake, and you just need to be allowed to just visionate all over the place. And you hire an integrator and they're going to do all the work for you. Yeah, maybe eventually, kind of. But first of all, visionary and integrator are not actual roles. Okay, these are not things. At best, they're descriptors. But you're either the CEO or you're not. Now, should you have an operations manager? Fine, freaking love it. A COO at some point, maybe. But what most people need are just a team of functional leaders, meaning I got a marketing person who does the marketing, a salesperson who does sales, a fulfillment person who makes sure the fulfillment happens. And you think that you want all these people reporting into somebody else so you don't have to deal with it. In reality, if you had good people in those functional leadership roles with good systems, it would be a joy to work with them. And you would add tremendous value and would have tremendous purpose. Once you have the functional leadership in place, once you have the systems in place, then bring in the quote unquote integrator. But for the love of God, call them what they are, which is again, an operations manager, a COO, a VP of operations. Integrator is not a thing. So those are some of the biggies. I mean, there's plenty more. I'll tell you, when people get it wrong, it usually has to do with getting the sequence off. So they do people before systems, or they want to document all the checklists and SOPs before they create their growth engine. So they want to create their scorecards before they even know how customers happen. Like, the sequence is so incredibly critical. If you get that right, you can do a lot of the steps half-assed and it'll still be better than nothing.
One of the, I talk to a lot of people about hiring, and they might hire a general VA to do multiple tasks. Like, this one person is going to be able to come down, take care of all these systems that you now have in place, and that's their miracle. And that's absolutely the wrong thing. At least in my eye, you don't hire one person.
I've seen it work, Norm, approximately never times.
Perfect. Okay. I was hoping you weren't going to say, no, I disagree.
Yeah. About approximately never times have I seen, like, let's hire this broad-based generalist to do all the things.
Right. So what would you do in a case like that? So let's say that you're not a solopreneur. You're growing, but you really do need, and let's say you're not even at that point. Well, maybe you do. Maybe I'm thinking about this differently now. You throw that coup in there, that operations person, but get to hire somebody in sales, somebody in marketing, somebody in operations. Would you do something like that and just divvy it up? Maybe it's not a full-time job. Maybe it's 20 hours a week. How do you normally proceed to get the best people in place?
I've never really found great people to work part-time. I'm not saying it can't happen, but but in general, we're making full-time hires. You can do it with certain, like you said, virtual assistant type roles, but that should be a supplement to what you're doing. You're not building a true team there. I mean, you think about any team that wins a championship, their players are in it full time. Like, it's their main thing, and they're all aligned to the same goal. And so I think it's really, really difficult to build a championship team with part-time players. So that's the first thing I'll say about that. I also think it's really difficult to build a championship team where you're asking players to split roles. Hey, to use a baseball analogy, I want you to play infield, but also, play outfield. Well, that's really hard. In football, or even soccer, I want you to, to play both, like, I don't know soccer all that well, but like defense and like the people up front. I don't know, my kids play soccer. I should know more than I do. You get what I'm saying? But we do this to team members all the time. And we do it because I don't think we're being cheap. I think it's because we just have not clearly defined the role that we need. I mean, it's really as simple as that. And so if you will go through the process I laid out, we're going to map those value engines, growth and fulfillment. We're going to ask, like, who is uniquely accountable for these? And if you're saying me, then what we want to do is say, well, what are the ones that I want to hire for? Okay, we need to get somebody to do this. Okay, what is the role called that does this thing right here? Just this one step. And then there may be some other ones next to you. You're like, well, it's called this, but that person would also do this thing and this thing too. It's kind of baked into the job description. Once you've defined the role that you need, you can Google your way, and again, ChatGPT your way into, hey, what is a job description for, a traffic manager, and how much do they get paid approximately? And if you hire for roles and functions that already exist, you're going to find talented people, and you're not going to try to hire or create unicorns after the fact. And that's the biggest mistake that I see people make. I'm going to hire this person who's going to do all these things that I don't want to do. It works about never times.
Okay. So, that's pretty much zero, right?
About never.
Okay.
Yeah. Not ever. You'll have somebody come in The people I know is like, oh, I hired this great person in their operations and they're doing this and this and this for me. And it's really good. They've taken all this work. And I'm like, so what's their role? Like, yeah, I mean, they're kind of a virtual assistant, but they're just doing all these things. I'll follow that person like 6 months later. And it's like, what happened to them? Oh yeah, they sucked. I had to fire them. Or yeah, they burned out and quit. Well, of course. Because you thought you just got to invent a new job that nobody else has discovered before. It doesn't work. Doesn't work.
Yeah. You put them on the pillar at the beginning and then they burn out. Yep. I've seen it. Okay. So let's get into some of these questions.
All right. So first question from Simon. Building and growing a business requires people to execute and implement all the processes. The people become teams. How do you manage these people in teams, and who manages the manager?
So, I'll get really, really tactical. You have individual contributors who report into managers. Managers are typically going to report into directors. Directors are typically going to report into VPs, and VPs are going to report into the C-level. That's the typical hierarchy of most corporations today. There's military analogies there that I'm sure could be drawn and based on, but in my experience, it is really, really difficult for any one individual to manage more than about 7 people. There are notable distinctions if everybody's doing all the same thing. So could you have a customer support manager, for example, who manages 10? Sure. But could they manage 20? No. I know, because we tried it a couple of times. It doesn't work. So the way that teams grow is you have groups of people who assemble around a similar task. And when there gets to be too dang many of them, then that's when we need to put a manager in place to run them. So it's important to think, what are those functional teams going to be at my business? Those functional teams. And I'll tell you, all businesses do 3 things. We make stuff, we sell the stuff we make, we fulfill the stuff we sold. Every business does some variation of those 3 things. You make some stuff, you sell some stuff, you fulfill some stuff. So you're probably going to have, at a minimum, 3 functional leaders on your team. You're going to have a revenue person who's in charge of the selling of the stuff. You might have a product or a manufacturing person who's responsible for the making of the stuff. If it's software, they're called something different. And then you're going to have somebody who's responsible for the fulfillment. And that could literally be a warehouse manager if it's e-commerce. If it's a service, then it could be the services team. But those are going to be your 3 functional leaders. You as a CEO may very well sit in one of those roles for a bit. You may say, I'm going to be the CEO, but I'm also going to head up sales and marketing because I've got a sales and marketing background. And so that's slowly how it gets built is you start to hire individual contributors to help you. Once a team gets to about 10 people, that's when you need to probably start thinking about hiring your first manager to manage the biggest group of people that you don't want to personally have to manage. And that's just how teams get built over time.
I just wanted to say something to Simon. So Simon's product won Dragon's Den, which is Shark Tank in the UK. He's also sold to the royal family, David Beckham, and a whole bunch of other stars. Like, he's got a really great product. So Simon, just a thought, Elite might be for you. I mean, just check it out. You got the right mind for it. You got the right product for it. So you might want to check that out after the show. All right. Next question.
All right. Next question. When building a team, what is your opinion of making the team entirely remote?
We have companies that are entirely remote. We have companies that are all under one roof, and they can both work. Digital marketer, for example, the building I'm in right now used to be about 20,000 square feet. We had almost 70 people in the building, and it worked great. Then COVID happened. We sent everybody home, told everybody, see you in a couple of weeks. I'm sure this will all blow over. Spoiler alert, it didn't. And we had to make the decision at one point that we were going to go fully remote. And we made that decision. It was a tough transition to make, but now I believe that particular business functions better fully remote than it did before. There's some losses, but there's some gains. The only thing that I haven't seen work consistently that we've never been able to make work is hybrid, where some people are in and some people are remote. I kind of think you got to be all or nothing unless you're just really, really good at internal communications, because what we found when we were hybrid is the people that came into the office, there were just things that they knew that other people didn't. And despite our best efforts of trying to communicate that, those people were just in the know about things that other people weren't. and they would get opportunities that other people wouldn't. And it sort of created these silos and factions within the company that wasn't healthy. And so we literally had to say, even if you're located in Austin, Texas, you're not allowed to come into the office. Love you, mean it? You can't do it. We're a remote first company. That being said, I do think if you are a remote company, there's no substitute for getting everybody in the same room. And so barring some, financial crunch that a business is under, we're going to, the executive leadership team, they're all going to get in the same room once a quarter. So they're all typically flying into Austin. So we're going to have quarterly executive leadership team meetings in person. It's usually a 2-day process. And then the entire company, we want to get together at least once a year. So there's just no substitute for breaking bread, giving hugs, slapping hands. So
very good. Okay, I think that's it for the questions, Kels. We answered some of them along the way.
Yeah, there was one that I think might be fun to bring up, but Simon was mentioning the how to make the coffee SOP that Norm you're famous for. So I don't know if you want to.
I have a coffee SOP. I was so ticked off that the coffee was always made wrong that I actually started our whole transition to, this is when I was reading Michael Gerber's E-Myth. That was my first one. So yeah, the famous coffee policy.
And I think that those kind of things can be really fun in establishing like culture and being like, this is frankly just starting to piss me off. So we're going to do this the right way. But I would definitely, I would maybe say, let's start with the process of how we go about running our ads to get people to our sales pages. That one might be a more lucrative SOP to create. Just for what it's worth.
Just saying it, right? All right. But,
yeah. So given that as big a coffee man as you are, I totally get it, Norm.
Okay. So I guess this is pretty much the end. We are going to be talking or going over to the Wheel of Kelsey in just a couple of seconds. So if you haven't heard, Ryan is giving away free access to the Elite program. And what we were going through at the beginning of the program, if you didn't see it, go back, check it out. It's pretty cool. But you'll have access to all of that. You'll be able to understand it. And it's 30 days free. It's about a $500 value. So hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, you'll get a second entry. Now, Ryan, for people to get involved or to join, where do they go?
So if you're interested in Elite, I know you mentioned that, digitalmarketer.com/elite is where they would go to get that information. This is the timing of this worked out. How long ago did you and I schedule this?
Yeah, it's been some time.
Quite a while, right? Yeah. So this was not necessarily planned, but this group did just open today. And we're only allowing 50 people in during this first period. And I get it. That sounds like fake scarcity. It's not. It's real. And it's because we already have all the M3 folks like you who are getting, access to it as well. We just want to take care of those people that are in. And so the timing is good if you want a more intimate group where we can help you build out these systems specific to your growth process. So I think that would be a good, a really great place to go if you're just interested in that. Yeah, there's the direct link to learn more about kind of what we're doing there with that program and how it's maybe different from just the tactical side of things. And then there's just the work that we're doing at Digital Marketer. And also, I'll tell you, if you geek out on systems and you just want some free stuff, my YouTube channel, I just started posting about 2 months ago, but it seems to be getting some traction because we've gone from about 3,000 subscribers to now over 20,000 subscribers in like 2-ish months. And so people seem to be liking the content that we're putting out there. And it's very little marketing. It's very little marketing stuff. I'm going to start publishing some more marketing stuff, but I really wanted the focus to be on building systems and doing stuff that we talked about here. Marketer heart. I love marketing. I can geek out on marketing and copywriting all day long. You know that, Norm. But I just know that growth isn't enough. Marketing isn't enough. If you don't have these systems in place, you're going to stall out. You're going to burn out. So this is my passion, how I really want to help entrepreneurs for the rest of my life.
All right. Fantastic. Okay, so I got one quick read, and then we'll go over to the Wheel of Kelsey. So if you haven't signed up, make sure hashtag Wheel of Kelsey or tag 2 people. You get a second entry. All right, now here we go. Last sponsorship read, and this is about Hona Worldwide. So Hona Worldwide is having their grand opening of their brand new warehouse. Hona is accepting new clients. This warehouse is located in Wind Gap, Pennsylvania, just 90 minutes away from the New York, New Jersey ocean port. It's perfect for sellers needing quick access to major shipping lanes. And this warehouse, all right, got to sell some pallets. And by the way, I want to be totally transparent. I'm a part owner in this, but we just went from a 1,200 pallet warehouse to a 10,000 pallet warehouse. I just saw the racking, and we actually can go up 6 levels. It's crazy. I got some pictures. I'll put it in our WhatsApp group, but it's going to be perfect for warehousing, e-com, order fulfillment, co-packing, and even kitting. So don't miss out. Secure your space. You can email Hona Worldwide today. That's savings at honaworldwide.com. And don't forget to mention the Beard Guy sent you. All right, that's it. Let's get over to the wheel.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
Okay.
That's too good.
You like that?
So good.
Alrighty, here is the Wheel of Kelsey. Let me shuffle these up and see who today's winner is. If you are the winner, please email me kate@lunchwithnorm.com and we'll connect you.
All right.
Ryan, Hypology.
Fantastic. So Hypology, you know the drill. Just email k@lunchwithnorm.com, and then Kelsey will get this over to Ryan. Ryan, it took a few months. It actually took 2 M3 events, but we got you on.
We did it. We did it.
That's it. So I'm going to remove you and go backstage. We'll be back there in just a second, but this was awesome. Thank you so much for being on, and thank you for the great prize.
Yeah, man, this was a blast. Thanks for having me, and happy to come back anytime if you want to close the loop on this stuff. Thanks, everybody, for the kind words, too. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Okay, Kels, where are you?
All righty. So I did drop Ryan's YouTube channel here. Go check it out. And also it looks like we got a comment from Zach saying, wow, Ryan Deiss, Storm, that's a blast from the past for me. Took a social media course from Ryan a million years ago. I have to say, Ryan's course, the social media course and the customer avatar was the very first marketing course that I've ever taken. So back in like 2020 when COVID was starting.
In the old days.
Ryan's the digital marketer class, that was the very first video that got me into social media and digital marketing. So it's pretty cool to have Ryan on today.
You're a fanboy.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So what do we got going?
So make sure you subscribe, like, follow us wherever you're listening to our podcast, whether that's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure you follow, review, comments, and I think that's about it. If you have any questions, just email me, kate@lunchwithnorm.com, about any guests or topics that you want to discuss. And I think that's it.
Okay, so shortly, because you guys know that whenever I do an event or a trip or whatever, I always post like a week and a half later than everybody else. So I'm going to be putting that into the WhatsApp group, some of our Collective Minds Society, the event, what happened. It was awesome. Just the podcast movement, and also some pictures from the new warehouse, which I'm pretty proud of. But we're trying to make it easy for you. We deliver content, and that's either through the podcast, or if you want it through our newsletter, or through our WhatsApp group, or even our Facebook group. Just whatever turns your crank, we've got it for you. So check us out. Happy for you to join the community. And I think that's it. We will see you next Wednesday. Have a good one, guys.
Lunch with